Good morning. This is the time and place for zoning cases hearing for January 18, 2012. My name is Bradley Collin, and I will be conducting the hearing as the hearing officer. We have one case scheduled for today, and the relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker forms. It looks like this, which have been provided at the front door, and submit it to our planning assistant. I would like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the zoning hearing are recorded on tape as part of the public record. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The request before us today is an application for a conditional use permit to allow on-site sales, service, and consumption of beer and wine at an existing 1,890 square foot full-service restaurant located at 1100 South Central, Unit D, in the CG, which is a commercial general zone within the South Brand specific plan, described as portions on Lot 1 and Lot 2 of tract number 1092. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.42 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a conditional use permit shall be granted if four required findings are present. They are: 1, that the proposed use will be consistent with the elements and objectives of the general plan; 2, that the use and its associated structures and facilities will not be detrimental to the public health or safety, the general welfare, or the environment; 3, that the use and facilities will not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses or impede the normal development of surrounding property; and 4, that adequate public and private facilities, such as utilities, landscaping, parking spaces, traffic circulation measures, are or will be provided for the proposed use. There are also 5 additional criteria that shall be considered in making the findings specific to the sale, serving, or consumption of alcoholic beverages. The first one is a census tract with more than the recommended maximum concentration level of on-sale or off-sale uses, and as recommended by California Department of ABC, or Alcoholic Beverage Control, that such use does not or will not tend to intensify or otherwise contribute to the adverse impacts on the surrounding area caused by such an overconcentration. Second, crime reporting district location of the existing proposed use with a crime rate which exceeds 20% of the city average for Part 1 crimes as reported by the Glendale Police Department, that such use will not tend to encourage or intensify crime within the district. Third, that the existing or proposed use does not or will not adversely impact any church, public or private school or college, daycare facility, public park, library, hospital, or residential use within the surrounding area. And 4, that adequate parking and loading facilities are or will be provided for the existing proposed use, or other reasonable alternatives satisfy the transportation and parking needs of the existing or proposed use. And 5th, that notwithstanding consideration of the criteria in subsections 1 through 4 as listed, the existing or proposed use does or will serve a public necessity or public convenience purpose for the area. If the evidence presented in the application at the hearing meets the criteria just described, then the hearing officer can either approve, impose conditions for approval, or approval on the case in questions. If the findings of facts are not evident, then the request will be denied. The hearing will proceed as follows. I'll quickly go through the reports from the other city departments. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, giving analysis and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, be asked to present the case within a 10-minute time limit. Okay, 15. Others in support of or in opposition to the application or interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again, clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity, if needed, to make closing comments in response to testimonies given by the preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. Then the hearing will be closed and the case will be either taken under submission or decision may be made. In terms of the reports from the other departments, staff has received comments from the police department which had concerns regarding parking, and they have placed and recommended a condition of approval which is consistent with the application that the restaurant that is there serve just beer and wine. As it relates to other comments from other departments, we've received either no comments from the departments or comments that were basically code requirements. So at this time, I'll ask the case planner to give their presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Hearing Officer. As was stated earlier, this is a conditional use permit for the sales of beer and wine, on-site sales, service, and consumption of beer and wine at an existing full-service restaurant in the CG Commercial General Zone of the South Brand Boulevard Specific Plan. The current restaurant has been in operation for approximately 1 year and proposes to maintain existing lunch and dinner hours in pursuit of this conditional use permit. In the process of reviewing with other departments, neither the Neighborhood Services Division nor Glendale Police Department had any objections to the approval of beer and wine sales. The police department had expressed concern that the lack of parking was an issue in the immediate area and that the restaurant is not in a spot that does not lend itself to bringing in groups. Because of parking concerns, they did not want the restaurant changing into a use which would put a greater strain on parking. That is their reasoning for limiting it to beer and wine sales. Or specifically, they said type 40 or 41 license, which would be beer or a beer and wine sale. The applicant is proposing beer and wine, so that maintains their current proposal. Staff believes that the proposal of proposed sale of beer and wine at the existing restaurant would be consistent with the various elements and objectives of the general plan. The land use element, for example, seeks to improve the livability of the total community for all Glendale residents, as expressed in the living, working, shopping areas, as well as community facilities. The additional service of beer and wine at this location appears appropriate in an area of the city zoned for higher intensity commercial uses and within walking distance from medium to medium high density residential areas. Similarly, the circulation element classifies Chevy Chase and Central Avenue, the intersection with this business is located, as minor and major arterials, respectively. Circulation element encourages commercial growth along these corridors for both local and regional automobile travel. The element seeks to propose reasonable access to service and goods via a variety of transportation methods. This area is accessible by multiple bus routes as well as walking from the multifamily and commercial sections I mentioned earlier. Over the last year, the restaurant has operated without any calls for police service. It's not anticipated that the service of beer and wine will require any new city resources, harm the safety and welfare of the city given its track record. Behind the subject commercial development is a convalescent home, a use which is generally considered a sensitive use. In reviewing the site planning and location of the area, staff did not believe that the sales of alcohol at the existing restaurant would be a problem, given that the entrance to the restaurant is facing the opposite direction of the convalescent home. Neither structure shares windows or doors facing one another, and they are separated by an alleyway. Further, the hours of the restaurant are proposed to be until 11 o'clock, which staff feels is an appropriate time to not interfere with the neighboring uses. As noted by the police department, again, parking is a concern in the area. The subject site has 17 on-site parking spaces available for its customers. The addition of beer and wine at the subject restaurant is not expected to interfere with the parking demand, given that the restaurant is relatively small and the service of beer and wine is not anticipated to create extensive demand. While there is already an overconcentration of on-sale establishments in the area, police did not recommend denial of the application, only proposing the limitation to sales of beer and wine. The negative effects of overconcentration are minimized as the request is only to sell beer and wine and only served at a restaurant in conjunction with food. The application does not include any added floor area or modifications to the existing building, therefore additional city infrastructure is not anticipated. The parking stalls are marked with 20-minute limit spray painted on the wheel stops. Staff recommends that, if possible, the 20-minute limits be removed as a condition to approving this permit, the reasoning being it is not safe to be serving alcohol where patrons are limited to 20 minutes of parking. Some specific conditions that staff is recommending: that beer and wine be sold only with the purchase of food, that no separate bar area be established, that sales and service and consumption of alcohol be limited from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. each day of the week, and that the 20-minute limit painted wheel stops be removed, and the authorization granted herein shall be valid for a period of 3 years until January 8th, 2015. This concludes my presentation. I'll be available for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Combs. At this point, I'm going to open up the public hearing, and I have one speaker card. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Okay. Opening the public hearing, I have speaker card from Rafi Nazarian. Can you please come up and give your name and address, please? And then also, if you could address the findings for the conditional use permit, each of the 4 required findings. Give us your responses, please.
Good morning. My name is Rafi Nazarian. I'm the architect for the project, helping my clients.
And your address?
My address is 705 Balboa Avenue, Glendale, California, 91206. And since I was working with my clients on this project, they purchased the restaurant. It was already an existing restaurant for a long time and never had any problem any with police department. So it was almost full service restaurant before. The concept was changed to a traditional Russian Georgian type of restaurant, which has very unique is a very unique concept, has a very unique menu, and I haven't seen any type of restaurant in Glendale area. It's a beautiful restaurant. It's a very unique traditional Georgian food, which always needs red wine with the food, actually. So since they started the business, people, the patrons, they always ask for wine because that's what they need with their Georgian food. And that's why we started thinking about this application and asking the City of Glendale, the planning department, to allow us for the sales of beer and wine, at least. So our intention is not a full bar or any type of business related to full line of the liquor, because the intention is only wine complementing with the food which is needed for the clients. And I want to thank James for the beautiful report he prepared, and I didn't see any problem with any department opposing this proposal, unless the parking lot, which is a concern for the police department. I would say parking lot is existing. It's been always there and never had problem with neighboring businesses. And one of the best options we have in that location is almost 80% of the businesses next doors, they are gone after 5 o'clock. So for our restaurant, which is the main target, is the dinner. The dinner time, the parking lot is almost kind of empty, and the sign 20 minutes limitation on the curbs, I don't see in any permits report in the city. So I consider that's not even legal. Maybe previous owners or landlord, they put a sign like 20-minute limitation. I don't see that's permitted anywhere. So my suggestion is to remove that myself, because I offered to the landlord, this is not right, and you cannot put limitation sign on the curb because it doesn't work anyway. It's a common parking lot for the whole shopping center, and will serve as a common lot for whole shopping center. And the staff report, actually, Mr. James Combs' report, explained everything. I don't want to take more of your time on this point. And we are willing to meet all the requirements, all the conditions. I mean, we are going to cooperate with all the conditions upon approval of this application. And we know exactly we have to be ready for ABC, and we are preparing applications for ABC too after approval of this application, hopefully. And of course, we're going to meet all the requirements too.
Do you have the findings with you? And then
Yes,
your responses?
I have my findings.
Can you go through what your responses were to each of the 4 findings, please?
Findings A, how will the proposed use be consistent with the various elements and objectives of the general plan? So the use is allowed in general commercial general zone, consistent with the requirements of the general plan, and is appropriate for the location. So if general plan allows the sale of the alcohol in that particular area, so we apply for that. Why will the proposed use and its associated structures and facilities not be determinative to the public health, safety, or general welfare for the to the environment? The structure, facilities, and establishments, restaurants are existing. The applicant expects to gain approval for the sale of beer and wine in the existing establishment and intends to fully abide by the state and local laws. Why will the proposed use and facilities not adversely affect or conflict with the adjacent use and impact the normal development of the surrounding properties? The proposed sale of the beer and wine will be in an existing establishment surrounded by commercial establishments. There are no adverse effects or conflict anticipated with the proposed request, as the staff report says. Explain how adequate public and private facilities such as utilities, landscaping, parking spaces, and traffic circulation measures will be provided for the proposed use. All utilities are existing and in conformance with the requirements of the City of Glendale. And we are located on the corner lot, which we have 2 entrance and exit to the parking lot, a lot of abilities to turn around. And by the way, because of the location of the establishment, we have a lot of walk-in customers coming from the surrounding areas during the day from the businesses and during the night from the neighbors. You want me to go through the other points of the findings?
No, that's fine. Thank you for that. I do have a question. The trash that I see is accessed off the alley, the trash enclosure?
Yes.
Is there access, maybe I'm not seeing it, from inside the restaurant?
Yes, we have a back door.
Be able to get to the trash
Oh,
enclosure?
of course, we have an exit door over there. It should say on the plan.
And then the trash is picked up on a regular basis?
Yes, of course.
Is that trash enclosure for the whole center or just for the restaurant?
It's for whole center, but Yes, that's for the whole center.
But you have access from your
Yes, of course.
tenant
We have a back door.
Okay.
Right, access is very close to the trash area. Actually, it's like 5 feet away.
Okay. Did you have any other,
It's just
is there anything else you wanted to include?
one more time. I wanted to ask behalf of my clients that the intention is very positive to bring that kind of concept in Glendale, and since 1 year they opened the restaurant, they are struggling to serve people better because, as I said, traditionally the red wine is absolutely a need with the Georgian cuisine. So they are losing clients. They are waiting actually for this approval. I would really appreciate if you support and help us with this, and I believe it's going to be a good investment for the city of Glendale having such an establishment in our city.
Thank you. Another question. Have you had an opportunity to read through the proposed conditions of approval the staff put together?
Yeah, I got that already, but as I said, we are willing to cooperate and meet all the conditions. We have no problem with the
The
conditions.
owners also are aware of the conditions of approval and willing to accept the
Yes,
conditions
of
of
course.
approval?
The hours of operations, the parking layout, anything. And I have also the landlord's support to work with the conditions, because landlord is also very interested in enhancing this business over.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to close the public hearing. Based on the findings recommended by staff, the information presented at the hearing by the applicant, and the other applicable department comments, I am going to approve the subject conditional use permit, subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft staff report. And after the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing, will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at the hearing or by submitting written responses, and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. It relates to appeals under the appeal provision of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code. Decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision, which is the date on the letter. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from the Building and Safety Section, the Permit Service Center, located on this same floor of this building. Hearing is now closed. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And it is, what time? 10 o'clock on January 18th. Thank you very much.